Trend line boys, let's get to this real quick. A couple minutes in, I think 2 minutes from now. Yeah, about 2 minutes from now, we'll have the new day candle. I believe we're going down. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm still in my Mara. If I could, I mean, if it was open right now, I might want to sell out, to be honest. But it's not really a big deal because Mara's still behind. I don't really think it's that worth it at the end of the day, and I'm not too worried about it because I mean, there's no need to go too much into it. But like honestly, like let's say like for some reason we trend down or we go down a little bit. I mean, we'll just move right back towards this week 500, and we should just start building up here. I'm not really bearish until we start a week back under here, something more or less kind of similar to what we have right here until we have something like this. So I'm not really a huge fan of the rise up that we had here in the week time frame last time we came up in July. So just kind of show that. We'll see what's going on with some of this other stuff. What I want to point out first is the DXY. So we do have somewhat of a reversal. This will be pretty interesting to kind of see. I'm not saying every time. It's not like every time it starts above, it tries to do something. But I will say, like more or not, when it comes above, it tries to push up. I mean, I think that seems pretty reasonable. Tries to push up, tries to push up. So there's at least something that tries. I don't care about there because I care about 1, 2, 3. Usually, if you really want to sometimes be like anal about it, you can do okay 1, 2, and then between the hulls and the smooth average, you can do that. But 3 is usually like the most bullish. Anyway, we can see we came down there. Anyway, just to kind of give a little bit credibility to this. Anyone that's seen the holes, they know that they're pretty spot on a lot of times, at least to like tell you, okay, there's something we should be careful of or something that might be you might want to look at. So something that's kind of interesting here is we did start a little bit higher, but it's not really that bad. So if we go down, we're only 0.15% away from this. We have what 105 up here we could push up to. I could see this turning around. I'll say this first of all, if the DXY wants to really get anywhere, I'd have to see this also. So what I'm looking for is kind of get here. What I'm looking for bearishness is DXY starting here, which we had. The next one is Doge. Doge starting the week under 234 sats. That'll be the next one. Because if it starts above 234 sats, I'll probably buy some in. I'm not going to buy as much as I wanted to, but I'll probably buy I'm probably just going to throw like 5,000 in or something instead of like 10,000. Um, if it starts above, we'll see. I mean, I'm still holding the MAR and stuff, so it doesn't matter too much. But we can just see how much this is fighting here. So I'm not saying it's going to go down. It just looks really good. Like we should be pushing up. So it's going to start, be getting some, it's going to start beginning the question, why aren't we pushing up through this? So that also could mean Bitcoin goes up. Doesn't mean Doge is going to just shoot up. But I think more likely than not, this trending down would kind of go with Bitcoin taking a slight dip. Though we do have some couple areas. If I was going to short Bitcoin and trade this down, we have the 2-hour averages here. I think is more than enough to just look at these and treat these. So if we start in the 2-hour, I think our next place down is it's not here, right? Because essentially this is a channel. So if we're in here, this essentially is the bottom, or like if we're to drop immediately, is the bottom. So obviously as time goes on, it's going to trend upwards. So that's obvious. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. So it's not like, oh, if we fall here, we go all the way here. No. So by the time, even if something wanted to happen, this could easily drop down here, come here, right? And then we could just push back up off of this. But anyway, so if we fall under those, essentially what I'm looking at is on the 4-hour. We'll just bring this back up, and the 4-hour is over here. So this more or less it just coincides with this area. So it's not really surprising whatsoever that we have the 4 hours here. Um, like I said, these holes usually show something else that exists. It's not like, oh, they're on their own. They usually show something else that exists. That's why I like them. If you look where they are or what they're showing, usually you can see something else that's there, and that's exactly what I like. So the next thing is, so we talked about Bitcoin if it was falling down, if I was shorting it, that's what I would do. We talked about the dollar index. I think it's in a pretty good spot anyway for the week time frame. It's coming down, but I expect this to come down. Personally, I'd feel more bullish if this pushed up instead of pushing down. If we started here and I mean, it's not far enough yet, but if we started here and then just like pushed up, I think it'd be more likely that we could come down here. Not that we necessarily have to, but this coming down and touching what my opinion is support, and when we can even just there's like right if we probably do this, we'll probably see something that's pretty decent anyway. I mean, this is like a pretty decent area. I think we could have put this in another slightly other spot. I mean, just a little bit higher. There we go. I mean, this is pretty decent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'd say like 16 candles of good data showing that this line is reasonable support. That's why I value this. We'll see what happens with it all. We did have a big US dollar to the Japanese yen drop, so maybe that recovers just a little bit. I do believe from what I was listening on CNBC World earlier, it sounded like people will definitely expect not like they definitely expect this to go like shoot the heck down. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of see 40. Like when I look at the week time frame, let's move this up. You can see this nice buy point. This is still pretty crazy. But that's a nice buy point there. And in my mind, this is all manipulation, but it is what it is. This is why I think the dollar can't super shoot up. But it could still go up just because the yen can't. They can't afford to have the yen shoot up like that. And there's no way central bankers aren't looking at this and saying, "Oh my God, if we don't do something right here, the yen's going to get screwed." And cascade effect. Anyway, so this does look really good to go down. When I look at this on the week time frame, I would assume even if it's just a test, it still does like kind of make sense just to come down to like here and then try to push back up and then like try to push back up off of something. I don't know. Whatever it is, I don't know. It's not going to be pretty, even if it goes up. Like, right, it's not going to look pretty. So we'll kind of see what's going on with that. Sketchy, fall back under, ride it. That's sketchy. This isn't a clear sell signal, but it's definitely like sketchy. I mean, we could. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not a big fan. I don't want to analyze USD to JPY too much just because of what I said before, that it always has that thing where central bankers know they can't they have to make the market seem somewhat bearish or else this is going to pop. And you can't see it here. The reason why I'm saying this is this, right? This is why it can't pop. When we see this on the month time frame, we can see what this kind of implies, right? Look at that entry, 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 crazy. So I'm not saying it's going to go all the way up. And we'll kind of have to see what happens also with that. But I just kind of want to mention that anyway. Just get that out of the way. So we'll see what happens. I think Bitcoin looks pretty good where it is. The dollar looks pretty good where it is. It'll be interesting to see where the VIX starts. So anything under here, I think is fine for us to kind of keep pushing down. But the dollar does kind of concern me if and when we're kind of pushing down, if we hit that target and some of these other things for them, and then we have the VIX start, let's say like 1330 somewhere around here above, because we do have a decent amount of open space with this target up here, and we do have a lot of volatility in this area. So we do kind of like right between these points, we have a decent amount of volatility. So we could easily just shoot back up there on the VIX. Not that that super represents anything. That's just a potential thing to kind of take a look at and just kind of be aware of. So I guess 1340. We'll see. I don't even know if that would be high enough. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. When I look at this on the day time frame, so I was looking at 1340 as kind of like a rough eyed being above this right here, the bottoms of this, and I still kind of feel that in a sense. But we look at the day time frame, we might need something even higher, like 1379. But I will say, even starting in here could definitely a lot of the time it doesn't always happen, but a lot of times when you're in between these channels, it at least gives you support in between it, even though it's a very tight range, right? So it's a little scary. But that does give us a chance to then continue and try to push up. That also could be pretty bad too, just to see that, because that I could definitely see that bringing some uncertainty into the market. So what I'd like to see next, pretty much, I doubt all this will happen. This is all the stuff I'd like to see. So the dollar does its thing and then pushes back up. Bitcoin, I guess, probably looks a little bit sketchy by then, and the VIX starts up somewhere around like 1340, 1350, or a little bit higher. And then the SPY essentially starts under. So you see how we're above and we started under, or in between, I can't remember which one. And then you see how we start above. So I'd like to see us start under. I'd like to see it not start in between. I could see some weakness forming. That doesn't really turn into anything, just a little bit of hesitancy with the market. But everything else looks really good. So like, right, one of the big things I use to take positions when it comes to stock market, boom, we got in our position there, we got in a position here, we got in positions here, right? Boom, boom, boom. We've been playing this. It's been pretty straightforward. And then we go to the Dow Jones. We can see the same thing here. The Dow Jones looks great. So I guess this is another thing to kind of look at. I guess technically we could have a reversal now. And this would be a little bit more important than the SPY actually as well. But if we see this essentially start under 35,750 would be bad. But I could even just see, I think we could still ignore this, just look at the holes. I just think this is such a strong area, though, that I think it would look a lot worse if it just started under both. Those are the things I'm looking for to see in case we drop. to kind of get an idea if we drop, right? Oh, did we start? Did it start above? Where did we start? 233. Oh, there we go. So we started under on Doge. Man, that was a while ago, right? That was 7 minutes ago. Jeez. Yeah, so we started under on Doge, so I don't think I'm going to buy back into Doge. I just don't like this. And if we look at this, I've had this fib for a long time. I don't remember when we first came up or something. I'm pretty sure I had this fib. So look at all these that start under it and all these bounces. So this one doesn't start under, but you can see the pressure, and then boom, 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 starts above, right? Boom, boom. So you can just like, it makes sense. I feel like it makes sense. We didn't start there. And so I just don't really trust it. And so it could push up, but I have a hard time trusting this right now. I'm still on my Mara, and I still have my Mara calls, a couple of them. I have more stock than calls, obviously, but so I'm not too worried if we do push up, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of sketchy things. So so far we've seen the dollar start off in what I consider not a super. It's not like, I don't look at this and say, oh, this is super strong. I look at this and say, oh, this has potential. So the DXY shows potential. The Doge doesn't hit the target. We start under, and it's not. I don't think this is an ambiguous target, right? As I showed before, we can even see from here. I don't. This is one of the reasons why I don't care about the day starting above. Doesn't matter to me. I care about the week time frame. But even on some of these other ones, we can still say do, right? You can just see it. So we'll see with that. I'm not a big fan of that. We'll see what happens. I'm bearish right now. I wouldn't, even if I could, I don't think I'd sell out my Mara. Like I said before, I think I said in this video or the other video, the thing with Mara is that it's so far behind Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin's going to keep pushing up, which I think there's still a high chance. I mean, let's look at this real quick. Let's say this drops. I mean, does this not just get bought in this area and then try to get pushed back up then? Like, right, we could still easily just start next week. Even if this doesn't materialize and push up, we could easily just do this down up. I mean, this is 21, right? Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what we did on the day time frame, but you can't see it on the week time frame, right? So we could do it all over again because it doesn't show on the week time frame. So I think this looks pretty decent, and then maybe we can start next week up here. Maybe it just shoots up. I'm just going to call it and say I'm not going to be a part of it if and when it does that. And it kind of just is what it is, to be honest. So it kind of just is what it is. I'm not incredibly concerned. So about not being in. I like getting in stuff that looks really good. And when I see sketchy stuff, I don't mess with it. To me, that's just the way to do it. That's why I'm right a lot of the time, because you just don't guess, right? You just don't take chances if you're not sure. If I'm not sure, I just say, I don't know. I'm not messing with this. I don't like it. This doesn't, or like if it doesn't show any signs, I just say, I don't know what it's going to do. It doesn't show any signs. So we'll see. It just is what it is, and yeah. So I guess I'll make this one public because I am bearish at this point, and we'll just see. I mean, my position is still long Mara. Like I said, I trimmed off my Doge on Saturday or Friday night. I trimmed off my Doge here. Was it here? Yeah. I think it was here. Yeah, I think it was here. I don't remember. Whatever. The Saturday, this would have been whatever. Anyway, like this day or this day, I don't remember. Whatever. The point is, we didn't start the day above here, so I was just like, nah. I would have done it last week if we started the day above here because it would have looked good to continue to push up and then also at the same time hold up enough to actually be able to turn into something here on the week time frame, which is what I was hoping for the day. We can see the dollar still trying to fight. I don't think it's pushed down enough though. So like I said before, I still think this is going to be one of the best things for bullishness is if we push. I mean, it's not the best, but out of the two options that could happen, whether we push down to this first and then try to push up or just push up, I still think just pushing up before pushing down is better. So we'll see what happens. I still feel like it probably will push down into this. But yeah, so I'm pretty much bearish in this stuff. We'll see. Usually I'm pretty good at this about kind of like trying to pick up sentiment, and I just think the sentiment is sketchy. If we remember, I got in my positions here. This is when I when I started doing Mara when we started above both of the holes, right? And then we just been making easy money here, easy money. So let's say I'm holding this position, same position still, I switch them around a bit. It's not a big deal, right? I got in and out calls and stuff like that, and I'm holding the stock. Depending on what, I don't really give a crap about what's going on up here. And this still could come down to like 41, was it 41,800 or something at this point, and still look good, right? It could still come down to 41,800 and it could still look good. And what I'm trying to say is like this coming down doesn't really represent too much. If we want to look at something a little bit similar, this is the last thing I'll show. If we want to look at something like I guess like BLX, because we have a longer time frame on some of these averages, more data. Even if we wanted to say in a sense where we first get 1, 2 push up, we could have something like this. But until we come under, I don't think we're pushing back down, and I'm not worried about it. So this is the base point to me. We're so close to the base point in the totality of things. I don't think this is really that huge of a thing. I started making money here. I'm not going to lose more than I made. But like worst case, which won't happen, but worst case, I lose just as much as I made. That's fine. I'll lose it when we start down here, but I don't care until we start underneath. So it's important for me to say while I've said all this, I am bearish in the short term. I don't like what happened with the DXY. I'd like to see it start under. We'll see what happened. I don't like how the Doge started under 234, under 234. I want to see it start 234 higher. And Bitcoin could take a pullback too. It's possible some other ones are doing pretty good as well. I might be kind of wrong on some of these. I mean, I don't. Kind of is what it is. I just don't believe it right now. We'll see AVAX. A lot of people like talk about AVAX, so let's kind of see what's going on with this one right now. What's going on AVAX to Bitcoin. We're really high. Wow, when did we push up here? Holy crap. Okay, so AVAX is, I'm not going to say it's like at the target or whatever. I mean, it's just like putting it here. So essentially, if we're just looking at the most weighted area here, especially if we want to just like move this over, we're just about at the target for AVAX to Bitcoin. The buy, I will say, if we're looking at it from the perspective of how we're looking at Bitcoin not too long ago, from that same perspective, buy, buy, exit, buy. And there aren't any longer term averages above here yet. I don't know when 200 candles form. Another 22 weeks. So that's like 5 months from until you get a week form. There could be no top to this. It could easily just push through. This is just something I'm putting here based off of what I'm just looking at. I mean, I could like probably put a fib here or something. I don't really care. But yeah, this looks sketchy too. So we'll kind of just see what happens, and we'll just leave it there. And I just kind of wanted to show you guys the things I'm looking at, how I interpret some of this as a little bit of sketchiness or possible weakness, how I could see this develop into other things. It's just some of the other things I look at, right? Like the indices at the same time with the VIX, the dollar, and then looking at some of the more notable coins. I'm not just looking at Doge to look at Doge. Doge usually, in my opinion, gives a pretty decent uh, read on some of the other alts in the market too. I think it's a very strong alt, and I think it's worth it to take into consideration personally. Um, like when looking at other things, it's just really nice. Even if we were like thinking, oh, we're gonna pick up August lows. I mean, look at all picking up here. Boom, October. Isn't this when we first started pushing up, right, on all the other things? So it is what it is. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we're more bullish than bearish. I would love to start the day tomorrow bullish, right? Because I have Mars. So, I mean, that stuff's gonna go up. If Mars shoots up, it should. I mean, this is our range right here, right, between 1530 and 1914, and then we do the big calls if we get above 2150. So we'll see. Anyways, that's just kind of an update. I'll attach this to the other one, and take care, y'all.